It's about teenage love. It's about teenage love set in a very specific time. So it's 1963 Yokohama and before the Olympics in Tokyo, and there's a real specific time and place at this story, and it's real. There's no magic there, and it's what it really feels like to be these young kids dealing with what they're dealing with their family history issues, and then falling in love at that age.
Great, that's great too. I like the movie. Yeah.
Sarah Bolger plays Umi, and she was the most energetic of everyone. She was like a bouncing ball of energy. And I remember talking to other animation directors, and they said the secret to good animation acting was energy. So Sarah Bolger had this, she would literally bounce, she would move, which sometimes you forget. You're recording dialogue as an actor for an animated film, you can tend to be kind of static, and you sit in front of a mic like I am, and you don't move and you act with your voice. But Sarah acted with her body, so she was moving around and bouncing, and in between takes she would kind of bounce around and get some energy. So she had a real, it's hard for us to keep up with her because she was so energetic, and she brought a kind of a heartbreak to the role. There's a scene where she tells Shun that she's still in love with him, even though they don't know whether that's a proper thing or not, and it's heartbreaking. So she's a great actor and brought a lot of energy.
First year math, second year math. Wow, these are really old exams.
We use all these for the mock tests we print.
Whoa, this is Mickey's math final. She got a perfect score.
Oh. Huh?
Anton Yelchin plays Shun, so there is just the sound of his voice was cool and interesting. And on top of that, Anton, more than I would think we were done and good, and he would remember a scene that we did 3 hours ago and say, I didn't quite do that right. And we would go back and revisit scenes because he was a perfectionist about getting his scenes right.
I gotta go. Yamazaki, take over for me, will you? I need to check the progress.
Sure thing.
I love you too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I love you too.
Directing actors for an animated film is a weird thing because you're not on a set, and the actor's job is really hard because there's no other actor. We can feed them lines and give them a sense of things, but they're by themselves, which is a lonely thing. So my job,
Something I'd like to ask you.
directing that, because they're alone and because they're doing generally line by line, my job first is to give them a context so that we talk about the character, we talk about the movie, we talk about the scene, and give them an idea of where we are in the movie, because it's hard to keep track.
We as human beings have complicated every simple gift of the gods.
Ron Howard. We thought there's one character in the movie that I thought would be really fun. It's called the president of the Philosophy Club in the Latin Quarter. I remember when I was young, when we were all in our 20, everyone thought what we thought was important was the most important thing in the world. And this movie's got a lot of that. The youth in this movie are not just having parties and drinking. The youth in this movie are all about learning stuff, and they're all intensely into philosophy or into putting out a newspaper or into astronomy. And I like that about this movie. It's about high school students being passionate about learning. And the philosophy club president is so passionate about philosophy. Who cares about philosophy these days? But he's so passionate about philosophy, and he cries. And I find the philosophy club president to be a very endearing character.
think Gary is immensely talented. He's, you know, proven himself as a sound designer for the last, you know, quarter of a century, and has a stack of Oscars to sort of back that up. But he's emerging as a really great director. You know, it's odd coming into a scene when all you're doing is changing dialogue, and you know, listening to the same line over and over. And then once we get to the studio, that's where it really comes to life, because I'm watching it on a small screen. When we're in the studio, we see it on a bigger screen. Sometimes the lip sync, whatever line I came up with, even though I say it to picture, doesn't quite work, or the actor might have a different cadence. Or you're watching it, just other ideas pop up in the studio, and so we make a lot of changes on the fly, and particularly stuff that ends up being comedic. Kind of comes to you in the studio with the actors, and you can throw in a line here or there. Sometimes we try to drop in funny lines when people's backs are turned, or things like that, where you're not matching lip sync. Unfortunately, you know, all the actors that we get are very game to play around a little bit in the studio. And Gary Rydstrom and I worked together on Arietti, and we worked together on this, and found a real symbiosis in the way that we worked, and it's a lot of fun, actually, to see it come to life in the studio, to finally put all the voices together and hear it, and the film just takes shape bit by bit, character by character. You put it in, you get to hear the scene come to life, and we're fortunate that we get some really great talent over here.
Quoting Diogenes. I must say, Principal, these students of yours are very, very impressive.
Let's do one more like that. That's nice.
Yeah.
I like that. Even more energy on that.
Why are you kids here today, not in school? Escaped, huh? I did that a lot myself. Well, I guess you're here to talk to me about that old clubhouse.
In this kind of acting, sometimes we'd love the actors to, you know, it's almost mathematical sometimes what we force them to do. Look at a line in the movie and it lasts from here to here, and we try to make it in the writing so that it lasts, you know, it's the right number of syllables and they fit into the mouth of the characters, and that's really hard. Beau Bridges, it was much more fun to let him be free. So he would do whole scenes. We would just go and he would do the lines, kind of do the scene as a whole scene, and then we would come back and pick the good takes and find it. That's the way he liked to work.
So, tomorrow, what's on the schedule? Right, that's in the evening. Move the rest to Friday. Okay, I'll be there tomorrow afternoon. I'll handle the arrangements with your principal. The rest is up to you.
I enjoy the freedom if we're able to find, you know, we don't feel locked into animation. There's a certain freedom to that is nice creatively. But I have to say, doing these Ghibli films, it's nice. It's like we have something to work to. So the film is already done, and it's already great. I have to say, it's also nice when you're recording dialogue to put it up against the image and the acting and see how it works right away. In the style of making animated film from, say, Pixar, where you do the dialogue, you have no picture yet, so you don't see how that magic happens between hearing the voice and watching the image. So I don't know if it's fun to do the Ghibli films for me, because the image is done, we do the dialogue, we can play it against the image as we record it and see if it works. And there's restrictions because we're locked into the timing of the original movie, and we deal with that in clever and intricate ways. But it's very nice to record the dialogue and essentially see the character come alive on the spot.
I think the actors like the ability to change the line to get something that they're comfortable with. I also think it gives them ownership of the character that they're creating. When they become an active participant in making it feel in a voice that they're comfortable with, then I think you get a better performance. I think that works just across the board in whatever it is that you're doing, if you're not dictating to them what they need to be doing. Now, in our case, what is on screen dictates what they should be doing, because it's already animated and there's already expressions and gestures that the animated characters are doing that you need to match. So it becomes a real interesting challenge for an actor to bring whatever emotional truth they feel belongs with the character and have it match the existing animation. So there's not a lot of wiggle room, but I think almost to a T, everyone finds it to be a really interesting challenge.
And I was determined to do well in school in case something happened.
Let's hear that one back.
I'm adding an "and" only because it's
good.
a story, and I don't know, maybe there are too many "ands" now. I just looked up and saw there were a lot of "ands."
Maybe for us, for our future. I was determined to do well in school for us, for our future,
Mm-hmm.
So it's a case. I was determined to do well in school for us.
For our future.
For our future. Yeah.
I was determined to do well in school for us, for our future.
Jamie Lee Curtis plays the mom, Umi's mom. In some ways, it was perfect for her because she is a mom, and she kind of drew on all of her momness, and so each line, she was one of those. She would make changes to the line because neither Karey, who wrote this, or I are moms, so she would put the mom lens on it and then change things up. So this is what a mom would feel. This is what a mom would say.
Morning, Amy. Did you sleep well? Mom, you're home. When did you get back?
Don't be silly. You know I've been here all along.
And I don't even know if I'm supposed to reveal this secret, but she does an amazing crying baby imitation, which she did for us and we recorded, and it's in the movie. Somewhere in the distance, you'll hear a crying baby, and it's Jamie Lee Curtis.
Whoa! that was absolutely dead on.
Sawamura came to our door with you in his arms and a copy of his family register in his pocket. The third man in that photo is here at the harbor, and I know he can tell you about your father.
Let's do one more. What we're thinking. And I like that.
Yeah.
Breath of your sincere urgency.
The third man in that photo is here at the harbor, and I know he can tell you about your father.
Hey, I'm home.
You're late. When you're late, it worries your mother.
For me, as a fan of Studio Ghibli, what I like about their films is that they are really well observed, and they observe the way, in animation terms, the way nature works is one aspect, the way rain and wind and nature works, but they also observe humans and how humans behave. And so I think actors respond to these films because they're very good for actors and they're very human. So that's my theory. All I know is that I get really great actors to work with on these movies, so I feel very lucky. It comes up sometimes, we think we have to choose. This sounds more natural, but it doesn't exactly sync up with this lip flap. And I almost always would choose that it sounds more natural or is more emotional. If there's a lip flap and we don't have we want to put a little gap in our English version because the gap makes it more emotional, I'd rather do that. I mean, you have to sync enough that people don't disbelieve what they're seeing. But the struggle. My job as the director of these films is to make the dialogue, make the acting seem as natural as possible, not make it seem mechanical. So it's a balance. But if I were to choose one or the other, I would choose the feeling over the sync.
Thanks for waiting. Is it that late? I'm sorry, I have to go.
That was a great sync. Let's do one more. I also like you get a little stern with him, which is good.
I must say that was really good writing.
Oh, I see.
And directing, but you know.
Oh yeah, well, it's all in the.
It's really true. I cannot take all the credit for these good moments.
Oh no, you go.
No, you're great too.
Oh no.
Just want someone to fill those.
Oli.
Just say Li.
Li.
Perfect.
Oh, you should have seen it, Saori. He jumped right off the roof, bounced through the bushes, and landed in the water. It was amazing.
Welcome to the Lit Club. Or Archaeology Club. Or maybe you're the two who actually read that failed weekly rag we publish.
Try there's a list. Yeah. Get that cardigan and put it in the Hall of Fame. Try it's a little word thing, but try the Archaeology Club. I think
or
you could use
okay,
or
cool.
but you're doing it great and impress him with your cleverness.
Okay.
Push our departure back by 15.
Aye.
So then, you're my good friend Tachibana's boy? Your father was Hiroshi Tachibana. That's him sitting in the front row, fourth from the right. That's Sawamura sitting next to him.
Bruce Dern is the last thing we hear in the movies. We wanted a character with great gravitas and empathy.
I look at you, and what I see is the legacy of those two great men. And I know they would be very, very proud.
When I first saw Poppy Hill, I thought this is going to be hard because it's not even your traditional. There are other Ghibli films that are like this. This is very realistic. Poppy Hill is not magical in the way that we think of other films from them. There's no. It's not a young kid story. It's not a magical story like say Ponyo, but there's a beauty to it that's brought by the fact that it's animated, which animation sometimes feels like it should be more about magic and fantasy and maybe even broad comedy. But when you see this movie, it's about real people dealing with real issues, and the animation is not superfluous to that. It's part of it. There's the beauty to the landscape, to the world, because the world's important to the story. And as I always go back to with Ghibli, it's so well observed, the way the characters deal with each other, the way they deal with their issues, the way they do their daily task, the way that they look at each other, the expressions are so incredibly well observed that we recognize them. And a story like this, which is about falling in love and about being young, there's a real deep beauty to watching this kind of story being told with this type of animation.
If the world should sink beneath the sea, reach out your hand and find a friend in need.
Brave the storm with head held high, stand together side by side.
Just like the mighty mountains, rising high above the fields.
If we
If the world should sink beneath the sea, reach out your hand and find a friend in me.
I like that it's all. We'll just do a few of these, but
Believe me, they will never be on key.
that's good.